It's time to talk about the best films of 2024. I have reviews for some of these movies on my channel, and I will link them when they come up. But there are others on here that I have not done proper reviews for. Some because I didn't have a channel when they came out, others because life stuff got in the way and I was unable to properly review the film. So I want to start with a few honorable mentions. Deadpool and Wolverine. I can't deny how much fun I had watching this movie, and I think it was one of the best big budget movies that came out this year. Juror Number 2, an unfairly buried treasure from the legendary Clint Eastwood, a good courtroom drama with a nice performance by Nicholas Hoult. Cuckoo, one of the more unique horror films of the year, and I will now be paying attention to what this filmmaker does next. Kill, an awesome action film that was unfortunately buried over July 4th weekend, and it should have gotten more eyeballs because the fight choreography and villain were first rate. September 5, a very good historical docudrama that is equal parts intense and riveting, and it should be nominated for some awards for just how great the film looks. Memoir of a Snail, the animated film of the year for me, a sublime story that never takes its foot off of your throat. All those films are worth everyone's attention. With those out of the way, let's talk about my top 11 films of 2024. I did 11 this year because I want to call it a great trend that is happening right now, which leads me to my number 11 film. My number 11 film is Milk and Cereal. I love the idea of people making movies based off of social media platforms we all use, and while this isn't the first one to run with this idea, I think it's the film from 2024 that pulled it off the best. When I review a movie, I always approach it with the question of, did the filmmakers achieve what they set out to do when they were making it? If the answer is yes, then it gets the most amount of weighted points in my mind, and I think Milk and Cereal, directed by Curry Barker, did a great job of invoking a tense feeling and conveying a horror situation with a minimal budget. $800 for this film is a great accomplishment, and while some of the acting didn't quite land for me, I respect the ambition more than any small holes I could have found. I hope Curry Barker gets to make more films like this. He is clearly a voice for horror that has a vision, and I can't wait to see what you do next. At number 10, I have Mads, a Shudder horror film that I don't think got as much attention as maybe it should have gotten. This movie is giving the presentation that it was all shot in one take, and it works so effectively well. I like how we follow three characters throughout the story, and it seamlessly transitions between the three characters in such an organic way, and it does not cut away to show who we are following now. The transition from the second character to the third is done via a scooter ride, and the tension just builds and builds. I like how dirty this movie looks, like it feels very home video style, and the tracking camera becomes a character in the film, like we are running with these characters to find out what is going to happen next. One of the most original horror films of the year. At number 9, I have Monkey Man, the best action film I saw all year. Dev Patel directed this movie, and it has the best fight choreography I saw all year long. And with how closely shot everything feels, I felt the impact of every punch and kick landed. I love the gorilla mask the main character wears, and it does not hold back with its usage of violence. It is raw and in your face, a modern action classic that deserves to stand with John Wick. At number 8, I have the Bikeriders. If I was being reductive, I would say this movie is Goodfellas except for biker life, but that's just selling it so short. Jodie Comer as the narrator and the character we follow the most allows us entry into this elusive club of motorcycle enthusiasts from the 1960s. Austin Butler gives a good performance as his mysterious character that we just can't seem to figure out, but I think this movie belongs to Tom Hardy, who gives the best performance I have ever seen from him. Johnny, the character Tom Hardy plays, is equal parts loving, stoic, compassionate, and old school gruff. He is not afraid to burn a bar down just because they beat up one of his friends. This character will live in my mind for so many years to come. If there were any justice with the Motion Picture Academy, Tom Hardy would be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. It's that good of a performance. It's a great movie. At number 7, I have I Saw the TV Glow. After I saw the first film from this director, We're All Going to the World's Fair 2 years ago, I was so excited for what the director would make next, and she made a story that is even more engrossing than that film was. A beautiful parable about someone who is going through an identity crisis, but is comforted by a TV show that they are introduced to by a like-minded person. I Saw the TV Glow is a great representation of the 90s culture, and what it was like for so many people who just didn't know who they were then, and escaped into something they felt gave them a voice. I know this movie is polarizing, but I found it sublime and beautifully shot with two characters that you just want to grab and give the biggest hugs to and let them know how they are not alone. At number 6, I have Nosferatu. Robert Eggers proves like the king of atmospheric horror, and this year he delivered the best looking picture I have seen all year, or for that matter, in many years. Nosferatu is a time capsule kind of film where I want to seal it away and show it to someone 50 years from now and say to them, see this beautiful snow globe that I discovered? It's that beautiful. If this movie is not nominated for Best Cinematography at the Academy Awards, then there is no justice in this world at all. At number 5, I have Exhibiting Forgiveness. I have a review for this on my channel, which I'll link here. I will add that I love this flow of releases about artists and the struggles they deal with in their lives. Not just with art, but with relationships as well. I am so down for these kind of movies. Please keep them coming. This movie is a beautiful story about families and why some people are labeled as villains, even if they did become parents thinking they would not be viewed that way. It shows the long struggle that not only a parent goes through for the decisions they make, but also how the child interprets those decisions as well. It's a great film, a highly, highly underrated gem. At number 4, I have Megalopolis by Francis Ford Coppola. I know that most people dumped on this movie when it debuted, and my putting it on my list may seem contrarian to some, but I unironically love this movie. I've seen it 3 times, and it just gets better each rewatch. I think that most people are looking at this movie all wrong. If you observe all of Coppola's work and not just his most renowned films like The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, then you will see many of the same shooting styles in Megalopolis. There are traces of his 1981 film One from the Heart. There's even signs of the short film he wrote in New York Stories from 1989. The story was called Life Without Zoe. I do think that everyone is looking at this film completely wrong. It's a fairy tale. The film is called Megalopolis, a fable, and it needs to be approached that way. The movie is a love letter to Coppola's career, yes, but it's also a letter of hope for our future, and I respond to that so well. I think this movie will get reevaluated in the coming years and will be seen for the messy masterpiece that it is. At least I hope it does. At number 3, I have Anora. One of the standouts of the year for sure, with a star-making performance by Mikey Madison. It's such an insane evolution to go from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to Scream 5 to now being one of the frontrunners for Best Actress. The character of Annie is such a tough egg to crack, and you follow her through her journey, which is equal parts erotic, hilarious, and heartbreaking. I've heard some people complain about the abundance of sex in this movie, and to that I say that the sex is vital because it is the only way Annie knows how to show appreciation and care in a world that views her as merely an object to play with. If people go in knowing that reality, then the last scene of the movie should carry the weight that I felt for it. I love this character of Annie so much, and I want her to be happy. There is one logic leap I had to take, and that is she could have called the cops at any time in the second act of the film, and the movie would have been over. But other than that leap, this is a great movie with an indelible character I don't think I'll ever forget. Written and directed by one of the best filmmakers alive. I don't know what else you need from me on this one. It's great. At number 2, I have The Substance. The amount of fire of the soul that is on display in this picture is astonishing. It is being sold for its body horror, and that stuff is all fun. I think it's one of the lesser parts of the story, though. I love that this is an existential crisis literally born out of our main character's back. Demi Moore gives the best performance I've ever seen from her, and I've seen most of her movies. But what makes the performance so wonderful is not the long monologues she was known for back in the day. It's her facial acting and conversations she is having with herself throughout the runtime. My favorite scenes in the movie are when she's getting ready to go on a date and when she is baking while watching her doppelganger take all of her spotlight. Watching her meltdown at the TV is equal parts moving and hilarious. Margaret Qualley as Sue is just as dynamic, where she wants to live in the now and forget all the consequences that come with being reckless. I also want to give credit to Dennis Quaid for portraying such a magnificent slimeball. He was in one of the worst movies of the year in Reagan, but he made up for it playing such a key role in this movie. I'm sure everyone on this platform has raved about The Substance enough, so I don't know what else to add except that it's number 2 on my list. And finally, at number 1, the best film of the year in my opinion is easily Strange Darling. There was only one movie that was firing on all cylinders for me in 2024. One story that perfectly embodied what it's like to live in the time we are living in. One piece of art that wasn't afraid to tackle the roles that men and women play in a post-Me Too world. And that is J.T. Molnar's masterpiece, Strange Darling. I hate that this movie has been overlooked by so many people because it is easily my favorite film of the year. The pacing of the story is perfect, the chemistry between the two leads is boiling, and Willa Fitzgerald gives the best performance that I've seen from someone in so many years. She's equal parts bubbly, seductive, scheming, enthralling, and hateful all at the same time. For those who haven't seen it, it's basically about a guy and a girl who hook up for a one-night stand, but there's also a serial killer involved, and it is told in a non-linear order like a Tarantino film. That's all I will say so people can hopefully go into this movie cold. This movie is also a love story. If you look at the characters in this film and how they react to each other, you can see the love blossoming, which leads to the question of, can someone explain love at first sight? No, you can't. Sometimes people are drawn to certain types of people and our friends will never understand why. Hell, not even we understand why. But that's what happens when you're love struck. You don't know how you got there, but now that you're there, how are you going to deal with it? Strange Darling isn't afraid to talk about how gender roles are defined in the time we are living in, while also acknowledging that underneath all of the cultural norms we are adopting, we still desire things that are considered out of touch in the post-Me Too world. This movie is basically perfect. I highly recommend it to everyone and beg people to please watch it. I've seen Strange Darling 4 times and it gets better every time I watch it. A film that spans pure goodness, pure sexuality, and pure evil, Strange Darling is easily the best film of 2024. Okay, so there are my top movies of 2024. What were your favorites? Please let me know in the comments. It has been so fun starting this channel this year, and I hope that everyone looks forward to all the fun stuff I have planned for this channel in 2025, such as more Silent Sunday, Fright Night Friday, and new things I'm going to introduce. If you like this, please like and subscribe. Here's links to some of my other videos. Follow me on social media if you like, and until next time, I am Ghost.